This is Lise Nielsen, Artist in the Woods, and I welcome you back. Happy New Year. It is 2023, and I haven't been filming in a long while. I was sick for a while, but I'm glad to be back here. I have a new studio yet again. Hopefully this will give me more of a separation between home and work and help me to focus. First of all, Liquin is a product that I use when I want to rework a painting, and a friend of mine contacted me a couple of months ago and asked me if I would show how to mix the oak studded hill colors. And I tend to paint what I see with color, but there are colors that I grab and specifically for certain things. And so what I've done is I've gone through all of my plein air studies, and I've pulled out different studies that have some potential for one reason or another. Some of them are pretty old, but they give me a good representation of colors that I want to capture in the scene that I saw when I was there. As I've talked about before, photos can really distort value and color, so it's important to go back to your plein air studies when you're going to be working larger. This is on the west coast, along the coast, looking out towards the ocean, which is beyond these hills. We were out on a dirt road overlooking this area here, and quite a beautiful area. It's between Carmel and Big Sur. I wanted to revisit this because I like the perspective of it looking down. Here's my photo. You can see that I really need to do a lot of work on value in this scene. The values are better in this study than in the large picture. So I want to fix those things. Here is what my friend was talking about, the oak colors. I want to use these kinds of colors that I was getting in the foliage, as well as here. This is an oak back here. Obviously this is more springtime. This area, the hills dry out a lot and become like this, but this is probably what she was talking about. And this scene is actually pretty good, and I've always wanted to go back to this one. I also wanted to talk about how to re-wet a painting you want to get back into. And so I'll use the Liquin. I'll brush over the entire painting, which is completely dry. Get back into this. I'll hopefully simplify it and bring these like this as one shape, this as one shape. This is what I mean by simplifying. Change the value here to make these areas pop. So you can see here in the scene, this is light, and so the other areas are popping. I did a little editing on the photo, which I think will also help. Sometimes when we do our plein air studies, we don't quite capture it the way we were seeing it, and so we also need to try to use our visual memory and fix even from the study, going from the study to another painting. Anyway, I hope you enjoy this video. If you like what you're seeing, please subscribe, and I will be getting back into this regularly for you. Enjoy. Had a little piece of a paper plate here, but I put some of the Liquin in the paper plate, and then I'm just painting it onto the whole canvas. And if you look to the side of your canvas, you can see if you missed any spots with this, but it gives a nice slick, oily, sort of a slick surface that's really easy to paint on, and you just want to make sure it's not dripping in any areas. You can also apply it with a paper towel. These Viva paper towels are good but you can smooth it out, even it out. There'll still be a film on there enough. I'm looking at this painting here and some of this ground plain and these nice tones that I have in there, and I'd like to bring some of that into the grasses here. So I'll be mixing some of that up first. So I'm looking at this. I like these colors, these light colors, and if you look here, and you can see here, but I've brightened it more here than here, and I like that better. It does look bright here. This one too has this bright grass tone, and I'll use some of that. So I'll be mixing some of that in with it. Looking at those bright tones, some dry paint. I'll have to pull some fresh paint out. I've got titanium white. I have cadmium lemon, that's my light yellow, and then cadmium medium, which tones that down and brings it back to a natural color. So I mixed my white and my lemon, and then I took a little bit of the medium, and then I have some bits of this cad red light that I'm touching. So this would be my lightest light area. I might go just a little tiny bit lighter and pinker for those grasses. These are sort of my darker, warmer tones that sit under the grasses. So right now, just focusing on the hill grasses. Most things are a combination of all the colors, but you just want to be, you don't want to do anything too aggressively. And you're just kind of sneaking up on the colors. Keep mixing it until it's right. I'm thinking about it as a shape, really. Letting it go up over it. You can see how my brush slides across there. I'll give those flourishes later, but so we know which way they grow. Some of it goes off the painting there. We've got some of these darks down in here. Now this road here is something I want to do, and before I go much further, I want to talk about mixing those greens of the oaks. And I'm looking at the tops of the oaks, but see the layers and colors in the oaks, the colors that I've gotten in these here and these here. So I want to mix up some of those greens. This really depicts what we see a lot in California, these ranch lands that are very dry, and the oaks that are in here. Beautiful, rolling hills and subtle color changes in here. It's quite different than the rest of the US, I would say, but that's typical of the West. Now, mixing the oak colors, it's really important right now that I show the mixing of these oak tree tones. The tops of these are picking up the light from the sky, so they're going to be cooler and lighter. This is more in the foreground, so let's see what we've got. So this is a combination of the two yellows. Running out of my white. Throw some of that down. I need to make green, obviously. So I get my green down. It is a green, but that's way too bright, and I want to show you that. Way too bright. So then I go into my blue and let's do a little complement of the blue. This time I'm going to take a little alizarin because I don't want to get too warm with it. So a little bit of the alizarin, a little bit of the cool light yellow, and it's getting much closer. It's really right on some of it. The darker green would be a little bit of the mixing into this, bending the color. The ultramarine, alizarin, blue. So just mixing as I go, taking a little bit of the warmer red and a little bit of the yellow. Which one I need there? That looks about right for that shadow color in there. That's good. That's really good. Some of the shadow in here has that reddish tone but darker. So a little more of the ultramarine, some of the green, a little of the lemon yellow, and some of the alizarin. It's really close to that. If you're out in nature painting in plein air, the best way to do it is to look at it with your eyes squint so you can see the value, and then start mixing, and then keep bending the color back and forth. This would be these parts. This would be the part that's starting to turn, and then down in here, this would be this part here. And that's how I mix those. These need to be simplified in here. Sagey bushes and things like that on this hill. So they're kind of that cooler tone. I need a lot more white into that. It's like a mess, huh? It'll get there. And you just keep mixing it until you do. So I probably need a little bit of darker tone just for the darker and redder. Okay, on this hill itself, there's some greens. I do have some of those here, but they may need to be cooler. Not necessarily lighter, but cooler. So I'm sticking with my cooler mixing colors. Cooler yet. I meant to pick up white there, not yellow. Okay, let's give that a try. So now I've got my, where I have the sage, and that comes in here. Just want to make sure before I do this that my drawing is okay. The dark is going to be on the slope of the hill. It's, you know, it's a little more color helps sometimes to bring it alive. Sometimes we get so dull with our paintings because we're trying so hard to get the right tones and squinting our eyes, and it all starts to blend in together. And then I've got my greens, which come in like that. They're bushes, shrubby bushes in there. I know these well because I lived in this area for so long. I have too much going on, so I'm going to try to simplify this off. So now I like the way this is just sort of nondescript in there. Now I can go in with some of these areas here. I didn't really mix that up, but I have so much stuff like that on here with these hill colors. I'm just not, I remember struggling with this painting and thinking, you know, feeling stressed because I had to get it just right. And that's the thing, you just need to remember that the simplification of it is really important. And if you're working so hard at getting something done and you keep doing it over and you keep scraping it out and all that, you're overworking your painting. So it's time to stop, put it away, take it out at a later date, maybe after you've done a lot of work on that particular kind of motif. Okay, I think this is about right, and just not sure how much of that I want to put into it. There's some of this in between. It's very stripy looking, and that's what I don't really want. I think to get away from that, I'm going to bring some of this green growth in here. You'll see these sage bushes and things like that mixed in out under and among the oak trees. Enhance, soften. There's all different kinds of growth in here. One of the things that my friend was asking about were the dotted hill areas, and you're far away from it in this regard, or if you're looking at a hill, you don't really see the details. And that's what I'm trying to get at here is don't try to put in all those details. It just doesn't look right. But the dots and dashes, or the calligraphy, there are these little variations in here. There are undersides to these, but you don't want to give it too much back in the background, too much value change in the shadows. There's a little bit of shadow that you might pick up on. These oak dotted hills, the oak dots are little fuzzy areas of muted color. I see a little bit of tops of trees, but not a whole lot. And you could go in with some of that if you wanted to there. If I wanted to, I could. I'm just trying to hit some of the tops of those so that it has a little bit of variation. This looks like a bluish green, a little more muted because it's going back. So let me take some white, blue, and you saw where I just used that green that I already had down there, whatever was closest to it. Alizarin, blue, yellow, green. Still needs to get a little bluer, darker in some areas, so I'll make a little darker one here, darker area for the underside. More. Okay, I'm trying to simplify it. By simplifying, I'm making more of a larger shape. So I'm following my photo some. I mostly used my other paintings when I was doing the mixing. So I'm not looking at that now because it's more about reconstructing, giving it the kind of attention it deserves. Now going in under some of this and defining part of it with the shadow. So really have hit on a lot of different things in this video. How to get back into working on something that has been dry for a while. That's one of the things. How to mix those oak hill colors and oak colors. And now the reconstruction of this and simplification of it so that it's a much better painting. I have put very little detail into this. This should be a little lighter here. It might be a little too light, I don't know. I can always adjust it if I need to. And then there's a little bit of this bushes that came down towards the road there. And then I want to put a little more greenery into that. Just bend that color a little bit. There's a little bit of green. It's beyond that. That's a little more of the muted. So. All right, needs to stay cool back there. Try to make my brush go in the way that things grow, and so I try to get a little more natural action in my brush. I can mix this right in here, and then it'll kind of lead me into the other. So let's see. So you can see, you know, it's a pretty basic palette that I'm using. I don't have a lot of colors on here. Now that's further into the background. So it's getting bluer and bluer as it goes back. But they still are trees, but they're going to be lighter and cooler. Grayer. Okay, so let's see. I'm gonna take a look at this. It's just about right. I'm looking at my original. I might want to go a little cooler with that, because it has to read up against the other stuff that's there. Blue is to make it cooler, and then the white makes it lighter. Okay, so I'm going to try that color and see. Might have a little more green mixed in with it, just a touch, not a lot. It's pretty far back there, and you have to think about the atmosphere too. You know, it's a little hazy because it's close to the ocean there. There's always fog rolling over these hills. Some of this reddish tone in here. So here's a part of those oaks here with the red. Oaks will show these interesting tones, and some of them, you know, some of them might be sick, or maybe just that time of year where it's drying out in some areas of the tree. But there are these beautiful different tones going through those oak trees. So it's got red, it's got a little orange, nothing that pops out at you like the East Coast trees. And then some of these trees I see in here are a different variety. Some of the best paintings are, you know, that just gives you a suggestion of something and allows the viewer to do some of the work of building it with your eye as you experience the painting. I'll smooth this out, but it's got a little bit of variation in that hill side. It's very little detail. So much more strength and simplification. This blue, let's see here, let's get that blue enough. So here's the top of the mountain, and you really do see some of it. Needs to be smoothed after I do this. Groups of trees that are up there. I'll be going back with the sky. Softening certain things there that I did before. It's really a different painting now. I took a short break. I wanted to stop before I went to the finish on this one. This is a rock in here, a large piece of rock in here. And I'll put a couple of little highlights on it, but I won't do much to it. But I want to mix up the sky color, and then of course this mountain. I'll refine some of this in here, soften edges, make sure my muted, subtle darks are in there appropriately. I'm leaving the road as it is. I love just the suggestion of it. And I like these abrupt strokes in here, just kind of ragged and suggestions. So clouds are not completely white. I'm just using the photo to get the right type of cloud in there. So there's a behind part of the cloud, and there's a part of it that's in front. And the part behind has a definite color change to it. There's a shadow back here. Very subtle differences. And then up on top of the cloud, you'll see more of that light. You know, sometimes if you use a softer brush, it's easier to work with these. They're wispy, they're airy, full of air. I want to pull down the way that mountain is formed. I love the way there's color up there, but it's muted, and the values are very, very close. This one needs some help now. So see how that changed that? And try to add in some bluish tone without competing with that other one. It is a bluish greenish tone, so let's see if I can get it right. I think that was wrong. You're always making comparisons. just putting some little odds and ends of detail in here, and then I'll be finished. Sometimes I take one more look at it after I'm to this point, and I refine a couple more things that are bothering me. But other than that, I'd say this painting is just about done. It's always very rewarding when you get back into a painting that you know there are some things about it that were going pretty well, and it was a good idea from the start, so it's always a good feeling to make it work out better. So this has been a good thing for me today, and I hope you got a lot out of it as well. I hope you're getting out and doing some painting. I know it's cold, and especially in California, it's ridiculously flooded and wet, but there are things you can do indoors like this. Pull something out that you haven't looked at in a while and see if you can make it work out. This is Lise Nielsen, artist in the woods. Usually in the nicer parts of the year, I'm out plein air painting. So I hope you stay tuned. Take a look at my other videos, and if you want to see more and want to be notified, subscribe, hit the bell, and leave me a comment. If you give me a question like my friend did, I will try to address that in another video. That was really helpful, I think, for me to focus and give you a good time to learn or to be reminded of some good mixing strategies. So happy painting. See you in the next video.